And just like that, let the great debate begin for the first time online as we now enter the decade, slowly coming 2020, and the years to come about teenagers out there deciding between two things. Let that debate begin right here. Feel free to leave your comments down below, guys. Share your thoughts and insight on this, the giant overarching question, choosing between a college education and going pro in esports. Now, we have seen this from time and time again. We've seen esports pros out there either drop out of college, decide to drop being pro and go to college for some time and try and pick it back up. We've seen the likes of many of potential pro players probably out there go to college instead, and we never hear from them again. And so actually brought to us by a latest article breaking last week around a 16-year-old known as Jonathan Huffman, who is near the top ranks of North American Overwatch and eventually will decide between going to college and being a pro in Overwatch. And this will be a lengthy, ongoing debate for the next few years probably on this channel, because there is no way I can sit down right now and discuss all of the angles, all of the scenarios, all of the possibilities of what the right decision will be. But we're going to try and break it down for all of us. Of course, before that though, the backstory in the article linked down below for all of you. 16-year-old Jonathan is near the top ranks, the 0.0001% of Overwatch players in North America, and is already discussing offers from colleges out there, or deciding between that and going pro in esports, which I do believe he has the potential to do. Now, we've talked about this a lot in the past, and a few rarities out there. College tuitions can be paid for entirely when it comes to esports, but that is a huge rarity. Most people out there, the ones I've talked to as well, especially from the CSGO scene, you can expect maybe if you actually get signed to compete collegiately at that level, maybe $4,000, $5,000, around that range in tuition money and scholarships every single year for, if you're lucky enough, around a grand total of $20,000 paid for towards your college education. For most colleges and universities out there, though, that's not even close to the entire tuition you will be paying, so keep that in mind. I think it's also fair to assume in this case, though, if we're going to make this debate, you have to have a considerable chance to actually go pro in esports. Otherwise, that even influences your choices as well, whether you take a partial college education, a degree and partially paid for, or try to go pro. Again, already off the bat, you understand why this can be a very difficult decision. In terms of Jonathan's case, though, it seems like he has a pretty fair shot at being signed somewhere, whether it's Contenders team, whether it's to make the main stage for Overwatch League. All of those things do change, though, what his choice should be. So keep that in mind. And that's certainly got to be the first discussion, right? The money. The money is not there, but it's getting there for terms of college pros. I actually believe for the first time I covered on this channel or my old channel a year and a half, 2 years ago, I talked to someone that I still, I know out there in the scene that competes at the collegiate level, making, I believe he was paid $4,000 in scholarships every single year to compete in CS. It's a pretty cool story to tell. You get an education partially paid for, and evidently, obviously will likely not go pro in the esport itself, but money is certainly a big issue for a lot of families out there when it comes time for education. So if we're going to keep a baseline of around $4 to $5 grand per year, you maybe can expect if you compete collegiately, or we look towards an esports scene, and this does, again, depend on every esport out there. Overwatch League, the base pay out there is $60,000 per year, plus sponsorships, of course, whatever your org can acquire for you. If you also do make content on the side or stream on the side, it can easily be a six-figure payday every single year for a lot of esports pros out there, at least when it comes to Overwatch and mini scenes. That's if, though, you manage to make it past Contenders and to the top of the top in Overwatch, that being Overwatch League. Alongside that, you really look at the question, you have to beg it as well, how long can you last in professional esports? The most storied careers out there in esports have a tough time making it to 10 years. The most notorious and storied and lengthy careers out there, 10 years is a very, very long and rare time to make it that far in esports. We see it time and time again, especially when we talk about Overwatch out there, the amount of people that have already retired, the pro players who don't last more than 3 or 4 years, especially once they make the main stage, that's fairly common. So you look at that, the longevity of esports, how much money can you make in a short period of time, and also tell yourself you can continue to make that kind of money after you retire from going pro. Can you make content? Can you stream? Do you have the skill set, the personality, the brand to do that even after you're done playing and competing? Because we all know from the ripe age of 14, 15, 16 to maybe the later half of your 20s, you can compete in esports, but past that, we rarely see that kind of longevity for a person out there to actually have the skill set, the physical and mental skill set to keep up with the youngsters coming before them. So longevity has to be a great debate out there. Can you make enough money in 5, 6, maybe 10 years and then continue to produce content and get the following, the fans behind you to still maintain that living for the rest of your life? I don't know. This is stressful just talking about it. And then you also throw in another factor out there. And again, I will be reading a lot of comments out there because there are so many different takes, so many different angles. You guys feel free to leave that stuff down below so other people can also contribute on top of your comments. Now, also look at the angle. Let's take a guy like Jonathan, right? 16 years old. Let's say he does go pro, and let's say he lasts for 4 years. What then? Do you go back to college? Do you continue hopefully with your organization? Do you become a streamer, a YouTuber? Do you become a caster like we've seen with Jake and Kusta from the Overwatch scene as well? Are you lucky enough and have a good enough personality or outgoingness to actually become a caster or an analyst or a desk personality as well for that esport? That's another giant question mark going forward. When you go back to college, all of a sudden, let's say you lasted 4 or 5, 6 years in the pro scene, you're going back to college, and I would say the most valuable part I got out of college, and I think a lot of people would agree with that, yes, you pay a hefty sum for a degree, which could help you get a job, which is a very solid future, as we do all hope. I think the social aspect of college is a gigantic one that a lot of people who go esports miss out on. And all of a sudden, you're going back to college to get that degree, which you might need as well, and you're missing out on the social aspect because you're so much younger, or I should say, sorry, so much older than all of your classmates around you. Does that affect people? Obviously, it affects some people more differently than it affects others. Some people would hop right in and be okay with being 5 years, 6 years older than their classmates, and, you know, that's another debatable thing out there. And so it's so much going on for a 16-year-old who does not have to make the decision right now, but it's pretty crazy we're having the debate out there of choosing between the two, and there are just so many factors. When it comes down to it, each individual story will have to make their own individual choice. We have seen so many pro players out there either drop from college and pursue the dream, and they've made it. I'm sure we've heard of some that have tried the same with streaming, other sorts as well, and have not made it. We've seen a lot of pro players out there, Kerrigan, Sean Gares, Issa, Atand, others as well outside of CSGO, who have actually gotten their degree for a third option out there whilst competing and the pro level of esports. Now that can be very stressful, right? Trying to compete esports, especially in a scene like CSGO where you're traveling every other weekend, if not more, and trying to get a degree on the side, you know, that's another debate out there, another option that these players, these teenagers growing up right now will face these choices, and maybe they're watching the video right now and thinking, help me. So leave a comment down below and try and help them what they would do. I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think that's fair to state. There are so many factors when it comes to deciding between going pro or going to college. But nonetheless, I wish you best of luck, Jonathan. I cannot imagine. Luckily enough, a guy like me, I had to go to college because I had no other options. And that's okay, because in a time where, you know, likely a lot of fields out there do require degrees, college is never a bad choice, but then it comes down to, you know, college can be very expensive. And so luckily I was forced into my option. I didn't have enough options to even make the kind of choices that people like Jonathan, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, even younger will have to be forcing to make. And I guess you could say very lastly as well, once you choose to go to college, if there's another angle to this debate, once you choose the untalked about thing out there I wanted to talk about for quite some time, if you choose to compete at a collegiate level, by the time you graduate, you will not be going pro in esports. That is the most likely case. There are not many CSGO organizations, Overwatch teams, there are not many Dota teams, whatever it might be, recruiting people who graduate from college who have not been actively competing in the scene, and all of a sudden you're 21, 22, 23 years old. Yes, you have your degrees, but you've not been an active pro since you're 16 on the come up through the ranks, and so not many orgs look for college grads, at least right now when it comes to esports, because you're past your prime, and that's another sacrifice you will likely have to make when it comes time for going pro in esports, or going pro in college instead, which is a different, it's not pro, right? It's collegiate. And so luckily enough, I do not have to make these choices, but hopefully any comments out there can help people who watch this video make those choices. We're going to see it only more frequently as we do go on. We have now reached a very curious time, which has been going on, but certainly right now we're at a height of people out there selecting one of the two things, and it's a big life-changing choice. Until next time, I hope you guys all enjoy breaking down esports gaming news here every single day, all day long. Until then, take care. I'll see you guys back here later.